Good morning, CLC. Thank you for being here this morning. Thank you for being a part of this service. Thank you for being a part of our lives. Right now, as you rest in hopefully your bed or comfy chair or outside enjoying a cool breeze, I invite you now to take a few deep breaths. Breathe in the cool, calming air. Breathe out all that no longer serves you. Allow your body and mind to relax in this moment and be here now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one and all is well. As we begin the inner healing process, let me invite you now to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your right hand and let my words act as your own for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging the higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems, while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my own ego to the wisdom of the infinite presence, I simply speak these words, I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only constructive, positive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. Visualizing the idea as already acted upon and brought to pass. In seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words, I accept. Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release. Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or a mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. someone who may not be physically present in the room with me this morning, I turn to that image in my mind's eye and say, I am grateful for the good in your life. I now open my eyes to the world around me, turn joyfully to anyone present in the room or virtually on this program with me, and share in gratitude and confidence by saying, I am grateful for the good in all of your lives.
Good morning, Creative Life.
Good morning, Jesse.
We have Danielle back with us today.
Yay.
We love you, Danielle.
Thank you. Love everyone too. Thank you so much.
Melody and Kenzie again doing our music. Thank you so much. Reverend Lisa doing the filming. The inevitable, the inimitable, the unquestionable Jeffrey Osher at the keyboard. Our music director. So I gave you 2 weeks ago an acronym, and last week another acronym, and I copied the idea from Reverend A.R.T. And I may keep doing this because it's kind of fun. Come up with stuff. And memorable stuff, not anti-disestablishmentarianism, but stuff you can remember, you know. So today is about living an art, believing an act. Living as an art, believing as an act. And this comes from the Holmes Reader on meaning. There's a link in our weekly emails to the Science Mind archives where you can order a PDF of this. And Lisa may be scrambling now to put it on the Facebook page, but if not, it's in the weekly emails. We've got all kinds of resources for you. I mentioned last week, if you'd like a free copy of Science Mind magazine, the current issue, just email us or put your mailing address on the Facebook page if you feel comfortable doing that. I don't recommend that necessarily, but email info@creativelife.org and we will send you one of these. Now, this is not a free lifetime subscription. This is one copy you get. If you'd like to subscribe to it, there is a pull-out card in the middle where you can do that. And it's the magazine that's put out by our national organization called Centers for Spiritual Living, and it has been since October of 1927, which was a whole long time ago. And somebody told me it's the longest continually published religious magazine in America, which is cool. I don't know if that's true, but it's a cool thing to say, and that's how I can couch it, as somebody told me that, and that way I don't have to, you know, I'm not standing in the truth of that, I'm just sort of putting it out there too. Living in art, believing in act. The acronym for today, for art, it's absolute, relative. Let's see, there I am. Absolute and relative. I want to talk to you a little bit about the absolute and the relative, what that means. The absolute is the place where, as you've heard me say before, especially over the last 19 weeks, the place where nothing has ever been wrong. The place of the absolute. The absolute is the place of truth, with a capital T. Truth being not a verifiable set of opinions. Truth being an all-encompassing whole. The universe is one whole system. That is the truth of it. Whatever occurs, occurs within the context of that one whole system. That is the truth of it. That is the absoluteness of it. We go into the absolute when we pray. We go into the absolute when we meditate. The relative is what it sounds like it is. It's related to other stuff. Something is related to something else by virtue of apparent separateness. So I'm looking at it as a sea of primarily empty chairs here, and each chair is countable, is identifiable because it exists in relation to another chair, and the chairs relate to the floor relates to the ceiling, and the knee bone's connected to the thigh bone. You know, you get the picture. Everything's connected to everything else by virtue of relationship, but it's all relative. And then you get into value. Value is very relative. Value gets debated right and left, which is a more useful thing, which is a more praiseworthy or prizeworthy thing. This is all at the level of relative. You and I spend most of our time in relativity. The science mind asks that we spend some of our time in absoluteness. We spend some of our time, our Sabbath consciousness, that we take into the absolute, into that place of unbroken unity, where everything exists as wholeness, as perfection, not relative perfection, as another degree of good, but absolute perfection in the sense of being contained within one whole system, one unbroken system, one great big circle that has no edges and is centered everywhere. That's what we're asked to do in spiritual practice, is go to that place where everything blends into one, and then come back into ordinary reality in terms of the relative and how we deal with the relative. So we are an organization whose motto fairly recently has become, it used to be change your thinking, change your life. That was the old motto. And it's not bad as mottos go. It's a slogan, you know. And so it begged a lot of questions. Well, what if I have trouble changing my mind because I have difficulties, cognitive issues, let's say, you know? Or like, if I change my mind, how fast does my life change? Or what really does that mean? Well, it's a slogan, so we explained it as such. We have a new slogan, which is we are creating a world, we are in service to a world that works for everyone. Now, what does that world look like? First thing that might come to mind for you is you don't know, because you're not everyone. You're you. So somebody says, well, how would a world look that worked for you? You have an idea there, don't you? And you start making lists of things of how this world would work. You have Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You have food and shelter and clothing and so on. And then you have the more subjective, emotional items on your list, like security, like opportunity, like respect, like hope, a vision, a dream for your life, a plan for your life, and so on. And you make this list. You say, well, now this is how my life would work were my life to work. This is how, if it was hitting on all cylinders, this is how it would look. To understand how the world would work for everyone is to look at the items on your list and see which of these are transferable without coercion to the general public. You're not asking that the general public all wear blue today. You're not asking that the general public all drive Chevrolets today. You're not getting in there and making people's choices for them. But you're saying, what if everyone had opportunity? How could that be wrong? What if everyone had respect? How could that be overreaching, overstepping? How would it be if everybody had kindness? Because I want kindness. And I think the person next to me and the person next to them, they could use some kindness too. And the people up the street, and then the people on the other side of the planet, who I've never met. I can assume that they could use kindness too. And you always have an out. If it turns out there's somebody somewhere who doesn't want kindness or opportunity or respect or whatever it is that makes your list, you're not force-feeding it to them, because they always have the right to decline. Just as if you go to try to cheer somebody up because it feels like the right thing to do. Here's a person and they're feeling sad, and so you want to cheer them up. You say some cheering things to them and they don't want to be cheered up. They want to sit in their sorrow for a while. Well, that's okay then. And if you're aware, you'll realize that sooner than later, you know, and you'll back away. Excuse me, let me not interfere with your process. And at some time, which they call scripturally in due season, at some time, that person will realize that they have a choice and that they might feel differently, but it will come from within them. So a world that works for everyone exists first in the absolute, we draw it into the relative. We draw it in through our own consciousness, not somebody else's consciousness. We are the ones to do the work, not somebody else. That's one of the things about this teaching that really is kind of groundbreaking, is the idea of personal responsibility. I love Jesus Christ, but Jesus Christ did not come here to save me. I came here to save me. I came here to learn. I came here to do what I do. And I may look at him as an example, and I do, make no mistake. I look at him as a towering example of unconditional love. But he's not going to get between me and my choices. He's got a higher destiny of his own than that. Get in and say, oh no, he didn't mean it. If I say or do something stupid, Jesus isn't going to get there and talk to his dad about me and say, he didn't mean it. Let him go. He's a friend. No, the responsibility is mine. It comes back to each of us to do the work, to go to the absolute, to go to the same place Jesus Christ went to go to the same place in consciousness he went to visit with his source, where he came back with the idea that he and his Father were one. And this was how he was enabled to do the things that he did, the healings and the miracles and so forth, to go to that place. So we enter the absolute. Ernest Holmes says we enter the absolute to the degree that we withdraw from the relative. So we deliberately withdraw from the relative in consciousness. You say, I'm going to leave the world of, chairs, and I'm going to go into the place where there's just an unbroken unity, and I'm going to feed myself there. I'm going to drink from that well, and then I'm going to come back into the world, and I'm going to do something constructive with that. So we were talking about this week in the context of global issues. We have a new initiative beginning called Be the Change. You're going to hear a lot more about this real soon. We've got an event. I'm not ready to announce it just yet because we've got to talk to some stakeholders in it, but we've got an event that's being planned to kick off this Be the Change event. And what all of us agreed to was that we don't want to lose sight of the absolute in the struggle for the relative. There's a place where racism has not only never existed, it could not. It simply cannot exist at this level of consciousness of unbroken unity. There's a place where sexism and misogyny and homophobia and any nameable injustice cannot exist. And this is the place that we must start from. It's not the place we stay in. It's the place we start from when we come into this world. We come into this work in this world and do what needs to be done to adjust the world at the relative level back to the absolute vision of possibility that exists. As did the Reverend A.C.T. Vivian, who passed away this week. Reverend Vivian was called the greatest living preacher. The greatest living preacher. What a compliment. Speaking as a preacher, what a compliment. You know who called him that? Are you ready for this? If you're not sitting down at home, sit down. You know who called him that? Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? And he was part of the team. He was part of the team that created the March on Washington in March of '63. And the Honorable John Lewis. The Honorable John Lewis, like Reverend Vivian, man of deep faith, went to the source, went to the absolute, saw a place, as did Dr. King, as have all of the great teachers and leaders of equality on this planet. They went to a place where such a thing could not exist as racial superiority, and drew back from that wisdom to meet the moment. John Lewis was 23. He was part of the group of 6. There were 6 different civil rights organizations that they came together to create the March on Washington. And it was, if you've ever been on a committee, if you've ever been on a team planning something, and they were planning something the likes of which had not ever occurred in American society. and involving hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of people. Can you imagine? These 6 individuals, and not in a vacuum with others, but representing these 6 organizations, got together, and the youngest of them was John Lewis, 23. And they sat him down twice before the thing, the day before and then the day of, in an office behind the Washington Monument, and said, we got a lot of people here watching, and this has to be, you gotta mellow it out a little bit. But you're gonna, because he's 23. He wasn't a politician, you know? He was an angry young man, justifiably so, with a hot microphone in front of him. And they got it, and he did a little bit, because he had such respect for Ralph Abernathy and Dr. King and the others who were asking him to do this. And as you know, the Honorable Congressman Lewis passed away over this weekend too. Both of these individuals, remarkable workers, truth, went to the source and came back into this world. You and I have heroism in us too. And what everyone's saying now, and everyone always does when some great lion passes away from this earth, is now it's our job. Now it's our job. That he continues to walk this earth now through us, through the work that we're doing, of honoring and ennobling one another. And then I got one more person to tell you about today, who is still with us. And his name is Captain Sir Tom Moore. Have you heard of Captain Sir Tom Moore? Captain Sir Tom Moore turned 100 years old this year. In April, he was still 99. He turned 100 in May or June. But in April, in England, with the coronavirus raging, he started a fundraising event for the National Health Service to raise money for materials for them, and especially for the nurses and doctors of the National Health Service in the UK, where they would have like care packages, you know, for them to take care of themselves while they work these ungodly shifts in this. And being 99 years old, he's on a walker, which in England, I just found out, they call a walking frame. Did you know that? Yeah, there's a piece of trivia for him. Walking frame in England. He walks in his garden. It's physical therapy. He walks in his garden to keep the circulation going. His garden is, I forget how it comes out in meters, but it's like 27 yards a lap around the man's small garden. And he said, I'm going to walk my garden, and I want people to pledge money to this initiative for the National Health Service for every lap I walk, starting at age 99. And then he crossed the threshold to 100. I'm not sure how long after. I mean, this is July, that was April, so somewhere in the intervening period. He hoped to raise 100,000 pounds sterling. So far, he's raised almost 40 million by walking laps in his garden. A UK artist just dropped a new recording of the old hymn, You'll Never Walk Alone, in his honor. And this past Friday, on the lawn outside Windsor Castle, he was created a Knight of the Realm by Queen Elizabeth. And there's a photograph of the two of them. She's 94, he's 100, both standing, and she's kind of stoop-shouldered now, her little hat, you know, and there he is on his walking frame, and she's got the sword on his shoulder. Isn't that the most beautiful thing? And this man, he didn't know if it was going to work. He didn't know if anybody was going to be interested. But you know what? He started with the end in mind. He started with a place of, how would it be if people who had to do serious, difficult jobs in the health industry were honored, respected, and taken care of? How would it be if you didn't have to go through all this red tape to get these right things funded? How would it be? And he had this vision, and he did it. And of course, it puts us here in Houston in mind of J.J. Watt and what he did after Hurricane Harvey, and all Carlos Correa in Puerto Rico, and so on, you know. So, remember these people. Remember them as icons and as heroes, but most of all as examples of what we can do. Which brings us to believing as an act. Believing isn't just something that you fall into. Believing is a choice. It's a deliberate movement of mind. In this place, like I said last week, we don't teach people what to believe. We don't have a long list of theological precepts that you have to memorize and agree to, and the world caves in on you if you forget or you change your mind. Instead, we teach you not what to believe, but how to believe. The power of belief. You say the power of belief is mighty to heal. The power of whatever you believe in, you're giving your power to. What kind of power? The power that Jesus Christ used, the power that these three people I just mentioned used in working to create a better world. Same power. Who's your favorite spiritual hero? They use this power. They're using it right now. Is it Muhammad? Is it the Buddha? Is it Mother Teresa? Whoever it is, they're using this power, the same power. And they didn't fall into it. They didn't just one day decide, you know, wow, there's something going on. There's a parade here and I need to get in front of it. No, they made a deliberate choice, an instructed choice, an informed choice. They came to understand that their mind had power back of it. And what they believed, they could cause to manifest. So that's what I ask of each of us, is how would you have it be? If you'd have it be any way at all. If it could be any way at all, how would you have it be? How would you have it be in this world? And realize that you're doing this not just for yourself, but you're doing it for everybody else too. Which brings me to a discussion we had in a class yesterday. I won't go into the whole long thing because it was long, and it was fascinating, but you kind of had to be there. And it was around the idea that someone said the reading that we were in by one of the New Thought founders didn't say a lot about love, but it was kind of implied, right? And where we went with that was that love, when you talk about love, the subject gets so broad, it turns into hearts and flowers and butterflies and rainbows, and it's beautiful and it's wonderful, but it may not necessarily be on point. If you want to get real clinical about it, and there's some of you going to say, oh, he's a man, so he's not going to talk about hearts and flowers and rainbows and butterflies. He's going to talk about, clinical stuff. But bear with me. Okay? Love is efficient. Justice is efficient. Opportunity is efficient. Kindness is efficient. These things aren't just squishy, feel-good things. They work. They make the world a better place. The engines of creation run more smoothly and without a lot of squeaking. The wheels turn, the belts and pulleys and all of this turn, if fed with love. So when we love, when we forgive, when we see the best in each other, when we look for the good and praise it. You with us? All right. When you look for the good and praise it, what you're doing is an efficient act that's supporting growth and fulfillment for people you'll never meet, generations yet to come. So the second acronym today, you still remember the first one? All right, absolute, relative, there am I. You ask yourself, where am I? There I am, there am I, in the absolute or the relative. What am I thinking right now? You identify which of the two it is. That's the first, ART, A.R.T, absolute, relative, there am I. The second one is ask, claim, thank. Real simple, ask, claim, thank. Ask what? What are you asking? You're asking yourself. How would I have it be if it could be any way at all? Then, having identified something, you claim it. You don't beg for it. You don't wheedle for it, coax it, coerce it. No, you claim it. You don't have to demand it. You don't have to jump up and down about it at this level, working in the absolute, because it's not withheld from you, but you do have to stake your claim. So you claim it. And then you say, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, life, for giving me this opportunity to be exactly who I am. So this week, ask, claim, thank. Ask yourself, How would I have the situation be if it could be any way at all? Claim some particular outcome that makes your heart sing, and be grateful for it. As I talked about last week, you can use proactive gratitude for future good, where you're grateful now, and you don't even really know for what, but it's around the bend. It's about to show up. Ernest Holmes tells us in this little booklet, meditation and affirmative prayer are for the purpose of receiving the gift of life and of translating it into terms of definite conditions. This means conceiving that the universal law is manifesting itself to us in the form of some specific good. People who believe this principle of absolute causation surrounds them and is within them, and who know they can make definite use of it, have both the power and the ability to demonstrate the creative potential of the universe. Isn't that beautiful? So let's demonstrate the creative potential of the universe right now, knowing there is one life, one power, one process, one principle. In the absolute, all is one. In the absolute, beyond time, beyond space, beyond any capacity for measurement or qualification, because we're dealing with an infinite field, and by that I mean infinite, without end, without borders, all one, fully present at every point within itself. This is where we work in consciousness, in this one, this absolute. I affirm and know now that within that collection of everything that's ever been or ever could be, there stands my good. That which makes my heart sing. Opportunities for creative expression, loving kindness, harmony, prosperity, well-being, radiant health in every sense of the word, and more. These things all exist within the one. Now I choose, as is my responsibility, that which I prefer to experience, and I call it forth from the unseen into the here and now, into the physical, the material, the mortal, the carnal level of being, where I can enjoy it right here on this earth, in this body that I wear, in this life that I'm having. I call forth some outcomes, and I also call forth some processes, meaning I choose to learn more. And the experience of learning in itself is a joy. So I don't ask that the information that I wish to have just all jump into my head, but that I be led to where to find it. I choose to be a better person, a kinder person, a more forgiving person. And I don't ask that all of this be just bestowed on me the way a knighthood might be, but instead that I get to process the journey of human interaction that builds these strengths into me. Just as the musician only asks for an instrument, and the rest is a matter of time and dedication and repetition, so I ask for the basic tools to be fully who I am and who I came to this life to be, and I will take it from there. This is the way I meet the absolute halfway. It also enables me to believe it, that it's possible, that it's real, that this isn't some fantastic thing that's happening, some entirely magical process, though it has great, great magic in it. No, it's a process, being and becoming. And I'm willing to do my part of the work, as I am in building this world into something that does in fact work for everyone. For such a time as this have I come, have we come, and to each one who's hearing this message is for you. It is by no accident you are with us this morning and hearing these words. Whether they came from me or anyone else, utterly beside the point. These words are your words. They are your intention and your direction from the universe, expressing in this way, in this format at this time. For this knowing, for this gathering of souls together, having this experience as one today, and for all that comes of it in our individual lives, in our collective life, I am so deeply, deeply grateful. I release this word now into that infinite life, a creative process that only says yes. Let it be, and so it is.
So it is.
So I invite everyone to join me in saying, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is.
So I'm going to reiterate a quote that I heard Jesse say today. Now it's our job. He walks the earth through us, or she walks the earth through us, or they walk the earth through us. So whatever it is, whatever quality it is that you saw in these people who are your spiritual heroes, embrace that. Take up that mantle and walk the earth, because it is through you that they continue to do their job, because you've taken it on. All right, and now I'm going to get off my soapbox and pray. In the knowing that there is one life, one power, one presence, one love. And love is the eternal grease that makes everything work so much better. I invite you into that love. I invite you to allow it to flow into every single cell in your body. Feel the warmth of that love. Feel it washing you clean. Feel it healing as it goes through. Feel it lightening up those dark places and shadowing those places that are too bright. Because love isn't just light. Love is also darkness. The darkness where we rest, lit by the stars and the moon. Let that love surround you. Let it flow through you. Let that love make you aware that you are never alone. That Spirit is always with you. And as you take up that mantle and walk this earth and do the work that is before you, know that you are drawing from an inexhaustible source of energy, of love, of light, of kindness, of compassion. And that it all flows through you and to you so that you can be the best version of yourself. You can be who you are, not who the world has told you you are, but that divine pattern upon which you have been built and continue to build yourself. And I know this with all of the gratitude in my being for the world that is coming. And I release it, knowing it is so, and so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I am.
I choose it.
I choose it.
I trust it.
I trust it.
I use it.
I use